All right, so we're still working with percent proportions. You're probably wondering what in the world's different today. Now they're going to be throwing in some word problems. Yesterday was just kind of a intro, and now today is really going to be how you're going to see them on the EOG. Like these are some they'll throw these questions in a lot. Okay, so it's important that you understand what's going on. That's why I told you that anytime you see a percent sign or the word percent, go ahead and set up your percent proportion because that's what you're going to have to use to solve it. All right, so what I mean by that is go ahead and set this up because you are 100% going to be using this to solve the problem. And then remember, yesterday I added on that this is and of, they truly mean part and whole. And that's really what we're going to be using today. So not really any is and of anymore, because obviously think about if you're doing a word problem, how many times do you see the word is and of? You see it a lot. So we're not really looking for is and of anymore. We're thinking of this idea of, okay, what number is the part and what number is the whole? So think about it like if you're talking about boys and girls in a class. Boys are a part, but the total number of students in the class would be the whole. So that's what we're thinking about. Or talking about shooting shots in the gym. Okay. So the number of shots you make is your part. The total number of shots you took is your whole or your of. That would go down here. Okay. So that's kind of what we're talking about. I do have this handout attached on Canvas, so feel free to print it off so that you can follow along with me. But this is what we're going to be using today to do our work. So let's look at it. A student earned a grade of 80% on a math test that had 20 problems. How many problems on this test did the student answer correctly? And it just says round if we need to round. Okay, so let's look at what the problem's got for us. I see a percentage, which would be important. And then I see this 20 problems. And then I see the question says, how many problems on this test did the student answer correctly? Okay, so here's where you need to ask yourself. Remember, part and whole. Okay, I can go ahead and tell you, I told you anytime you see a percentage, go ahead and set up your proportion. 100 has to go there. 80, there's only one spot that percentage can go, and you know that it's over 100. So now I just have this side to figure out. And remember, you're always going to be missing one spot. So I really am just missing one of these spots. So the 20 has to go somewhere. So think to yourself, read the question. Is 20 the total number of problems on the test, or is 20 the number they got right? Okay? Because if it was the whole number, then it would be on the bottom. But if it's just the number they got right, then it would go on top. Well, hopefully you can read the question and it says, how many problems on the did the student answer correctly? So what I'm missing is how many they got right, but I know how many questions on the whole test, and that would be 20. So it has to go down here. Okay. Once again, the reason 20 is going down there is because it's my whole. It is not my part. It is the whole number of questions on this test. And remember, you set it up as part over whole equals percentage over 100. Okay, so that's what we're using to do these. So once again, use your Desmos calculator. You're doing 20 times 80. You get 1,600. Then I divide by 100, and I get an answer of 16. So what that tells me is that there were 16 questions on the test that this student got right. 20 total questions on the test, but only 16 did they get correct. Okay? And if you wanted to double check, what you could always do is remember, now in place of this x is really a 16. So if you did 16 times 100, you get 1,600. And if you do 20 times 80, you get 1,600. So it is a proportion. It does equal. All right. Number 2. There are 36 carpenters on a crew. So carpenters would be like construction, so people building a house. On a certain day, 29 were present. What percent showed up for work? Okay, so I've got this right here talking about some 36 carpenters. I've got this right here telling me that 29 were present. And then the question clearly says what percent? Okay, I see the word percent. I'm going to immediately go ahead and set up my proportion. And then if I'm looking in the problem, I don't see a percent anywhere. I don't see a number attached to a percent. The question says what percent, so that pretty much gives me all the indications that I'm missing my percent. That's the spot that I'm looking for. So now I just need to figure out, okay, which one of these numbers goes where. So I've got 36 carpenters, and then I've got 29 were present. Okay, 36 carpenters is how many people are the entire. That's how many whole people should be in this group. Okay, 29 of them were actually there that day. So 29 is my part. 36 is my whole. 36 is the whole number of people on the crew. 29 is just a part of it. 29 is just the people that were there. Okay? I will say this. If you're ever unsure, most of the time, the smaller number is going to go on top. Now, not every time, so I'd rather you be certain about what goes where, but if you're ever unsure and you just can't figure it out, try the smaller number on top, and we'll see if that works out. All right, so using our calculator, we're going to do 29 times 100. We get 2,900, so then I'm doing 2,900 divided by 36, and I get 80.55. The question says round to the nearest tenth, so this is what you actually get. It says the tenth, so this spot right here is the tenth. So this 5 is going to change this 5 to a 6, so it's actually 80.6%. So about 80% of the crew was there that day. Okay. Next one. A metal bar weighs 8.15 ounces. 93% of the bar is silver. How many ounces of silver are in the bar? Round to the thousand. Okay. So let's talk about what's important. I've got this 8.15 ounces. I've got this 93%. And it says how many ounces of silver are in the bar. Okay, so this one's kind of hard to visualize, but think about it if you've got a metal bar. So I'm just going to draw a metal bar real quick. Okay, the whole thing weighs 8.15 ounces. Okay, 93 of the bars. Now 93 is a lot. All right, so 100 is what it is. So 93. So just think about it like from here, all of this is silver. Is pretty much what it's saying. Okay? The rest of the 7% is something else. So it wants to know how much does this part right here weigh. I know the whole thing weighs 8.15, but I want to know just how much the silver weighs. Okay? So if I set this up, remember I see a percent, so it has to be a percent proportion. 93 is my percentage, so it goes right here. Now I just got to figure out what goes where. Well, it tells me that the whole bar weighs 8.15 ounces. So if that's the entire bar, then it has to go on the bottom. I'm just looking for what part of that is silver. Okay? So we cross multiply. We do 8.15 times 93. We divide it by 100. And we get this number right here. Okay? It says round to the nearest thousandth. So this way over here is my thousandth spot. So this 5 is going to change this 9. Now this one's tricky, okay? The 9 can't just go up to a 1 or something like that. The 79 would change to an 80. So this is going to be 7.580. Okay? All right, let's do another one. Wrong way. All right. A student answered 24 problems on a test correctly and received a grade of 80%. How many problems were on the test if all the problems were worth the same number of points? Okay, so I see a percentage right here. As soon as I see a percentage, I'm going to go ahead and know that it's a percent proportion. I see this 24 problems right here. Question says, how many problems were on the test? Okay. So since that's the question, it says how many problems were on the test. How many problems were on that entire test? So what that's saying is that I do not know my whole. I do not know how many total questions were on this test. All I know is that this student got 24 of them right and that their grade was an 80. Okay? So I know they didn't get 100, so there's more than 24 questions on this test. Okay? So now I would cross multiply. I would get 2,400, 2,400 divided by 80 leaves me with 30. So what that tells me is that there were 30 questions on this test. 30 is my whole, 30 is my total amount. Okay? Pamela bought an electric drill at 85% of the regular price. She paid $32.89 for the drill. What was the original price before it went on sale? Okay, so I see this right here. I know right away I'm doing a percent proportion. See this. And then it says what was the original price. Okay, well there's only one spot that the 85 can go because it's a percentage, so it has to go over the 100. Now I just need to figure out where the 280 goes. And this one can be a little bit tricky, but it really does make sense if you really think about it. So this drill that she bought was on sale. So the she paid is not what it originally cost. Originally it was more expensive. Let's just pretend originally it was $40. She paid $32.89. So if it originally cost $40, she paid $32.89. She's just paying a part or a piece of what that total amount really was. So this right here is going to go on top because it is just a piece of what the total cost was. I'm looking for what that original cost was. So that is why the X would go down here. Okay, I cross multiply. I get $32.89 divided by 85, and I get, now this is money, so remember we got to go 2 spots. So it's going to be $38.69. So originally this drill was $38.69. She got it on sale and she only had to pay $32.89. Okay, last one. There are 32 students in a class. 9 of those students are women. What percent are men? Okay, I see the word percent. I'm going to go ahead and set up my percent proportion. Okay, I see this that says 32 students in a class. I see this that says 9 of those are women. Now, if we were in class together, this would be one that I know that somebody would get wrong. And maybe you've already seen why you would get it wrong. Let's take it piece by piece. First of all, it says there's 32 people in the class. That would be my total amount of students. So it has to go on the bottom because it is my whole. It is my total number of students in that class. I'm just missing the part. I got to figure out what the part is right here. So then it goes on to say 9 of those students are women. So a lot of people would come right up here and they'd put a 9 right there. Then what percent are men? So I'm obviously missing the percent. The percent is what I'm looking for. I don't want to put a 9 right here because that 9 is talking about women. But the question is asking about men. Okay? So you have to know that you're going to have to subtract. So if there's 32 people total in the class, 9 of them are women. That means that 23 of them are men. 23 would go right here, because that's how many are men. Now I would cross multiply. I get 2,300 divided by 32, and that's going to be, it says round to the nearest tenth, so that would be 71.9%. Now, if you decided, if you had a mix-up and you did put a 9 there, you could still solve it. So like, if you had this, if you did that, you cross multiplied, you got 900 divided by 32, we get x equals 28.1. Okay? You would just need to know that this 28.1% would be women, and what it asked for was men. So you would have to take that 28%. And remember, percentages are out of 100, so you would do 100 minus that 28.1% and get that the men was 71.9. So that's kind of a 2-step problem. You got to be real careful because the EOG does that a lot, where it gives you about that when you're doing those types of problems.